Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with some of the crew.
Yeah, I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we want to talk about warlocks and crossing over to the good side.
Yeah, where's the good patrons, yo?
All right, so you get, what do we have here as our options? We've got, the Great Old One, an Archfey, or the Fiend.
So you have the Unseelie Court, the Cthulhu, or
the devil.
The devil. Yeah. So, in a game that I was playing that's not recorded here, I had a warlock, and like at character creation, I'm asking the GM, I'm like, what do you see as kind of options, because I don't like to play evil characters all that often. It's got to be something that I get built up. He's like, oh, I don't see warlocks as anything that can be good, so you can't really have anything that goes that route. So I'm like, I wonder what other people feel about this. And I know for the Spelljammer game that we did once, you had me as, I played a warlock for that, and you allowed us to be something pseudo neutral.
Yeah, more of a force of nature
right.
than so you went with the old one pack, right?
Like a galactic intelligence.
But I totally ripped off from Marvel the Eternity entity, which is basically a humanoid silhouette made of basically dark matter, space, and stars kind of deal. And so that was kind of what we went with. I think you went with Packblade. And I don't know if we delved into it or not, but my idea of when you summon your pack weapon is it's actually made of that same stuff, the stars and the darkness.
Oh, the Spord.
Yeah.
The Spear Sword. Sorry, that's what I remember about it most. Well, and the stars and darkness was pretty cool, but
so why can't there be a good one? I guess it crosses into the point of if it's a good thing, it tends to go to like a religion and a deity kind of deal. But so is it that you have to is it that like some beings are too great to actually be patrons? Like, would that like blow the person up if they like tried to be like, here's a slither of my power? Oh man, again!
I popped into the person balloon.
So we've all read the books, but it says a warlock is defined by a pact with an otherworldly being. Sometimes the relationship between a warlock and a patron is like that of a cleric and a deity, though that the beings that serve as patron for warlocks are not gods. So, all right, so you technically can't have it as a full-on god, but there still can be greater beings.
You just need the right filters and funnels. So like a solar of some deity might give you the power and be like, hey, my god rang me up and said I got to do something. So
here, pinky swear on this.
Yeah, pinky swear on this magic sword.
What about what about having a pact with an ancient silver dragon? They're a goodly being in the world. I think they're in the middle of the road spectrum alignment wise. So I mean, you could definitely go that kind of route if dragons have the ability to achieve that status.
Yeah, well, the wordful thing about warlocks is
warlocks are wonderful things.
Yes, they're very ambiguous about the wording of things and what they are, and and granted, if a demon can, they don't actually say what kind of fiend per se, but if a fiend can grant you powers as a warlock, why not? And some other kind of elder being like a dragon or a solar, or even not necessarily good or evil, but the oldest of the Moldrons, they're going to all have their own purpose for you, their own machinations going on, and it's just their motivation is different.
Yeah.
So you could absolutely do that. In my opinion, there's other things, and there might be even other things that I'm just not thinking of right now.
So we're not gonna create another patron, here.
We're going to talk about the philosophy.
Just talk about the philosophy
behind it.
But
major thing first is get rid of the word warlock. That's like big negative juju.
Yeah. I mean like you're either like this biker dude or outlaw biker, or it's warlocks and witches are generally it's just a bad connotation.
Yeah, so you got to think of a name for yourself that you can tell people.
Peace lock. I'm a peace lock.
Peace lock. Peace lock and love lock.
But looking at the core mechanics of what the class is, so putting the name aside, you get your invocations, which none of them really.
Well, a lot of them have creep factor.
Well, I mean, they might have some of them that's creep factor, but like, okay, the ones that either grant you a spell or grant you a spell at will, that's just additional spell casting.
Or the one that gives you the skills. What is it, Devil's Tongue or something like that? It grants two proficiency with 2 skills.
Oh, Beguiling Influence. You gain perception and deception and persuasion. So I mean, that's just that could just be like a silver tongue.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's my point. There's definitely ones that you could reflavor a little bit.
Life Drinker. I mean, first off, it doesn't even actually give you hit points back. So, I mean, I don't like that name in the first place. But, Life Drinker does extra damage. It should just be like a Holy Aura or a Smite.
What kind of damage is it, though? It's
necrotic.
Yeah, and you could totally go
just
Radiant with that if
make
you
it
wanted
Radiant.
So I mean, you've got a couple things that do scream, this is kind of evil here. But those are the things that fall in the options of things. The rest of it is just kind of spellcastery with the stuff. I mean, other than your otherworldly patrons, you're getting Mystic Arcanum is all you're getting between your 11th and 17th abilities. Then when you actually look at your otherworldly patron, you get an expanded spell list and then 1, 2, 3, 4 abilities. So it wouldn't be hard to just say, let's make a Solar pact. Let's make a dragon or a dragon pact.
Are there things you would shy away from? Like, okay, it's a Solar pact. Can they have healing or no? Like, so.
Like, well, I might allow them to like heal their own wounds, or only be able to heal others.
We're talking about a spell list, though.
There's a spell list, and I think it could be appropriate that they get a cleric domain as their spell list based on the nature of the Solar, similar to the favored soul in the modifying classes on the Unearthed Arcana.
And again, these are choices. These aren't you get it.
Right.
Yeah.
They still have to choose that.
Yeah, they're just choices that are now part of your spell list that you can choose now, rather than the Sorcerer. You just get them with the favored soul.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's really nice. Yeah. So I mean, if you pick Life because it's a Solar Lathander or whatever that really awesome elven deity is, that kind of Life. So I pick Life, so I get Cure and whatever. It's 5th level slot. I'm also at Curing for sometimes. However many spells you get for that slot.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you only get 4 slots, 5 slots at your highest. So even if you are taking Cure, you're really, limiting your choices.
Well, that being said, though, but the nice thing about Warlocks is you always cast them at the maximum level.
That is true.
Which eventually becomes 5th. So I mean, that's a really powerful healing spell when you cast it.
Sorry, I don't do hangnails.
Yeah, if you're not mortally wounded or have a sword in your gut, I'm not going to help you.
Oh, you sprained your ankle. Come back to me when your leg's falling off.
Or has falling off.
Yeah. So I could see that as one of the options. Pick a cleric domain. Pick that spell list.
Yeah, I mean that would be a really easy, fast and dirty. What goes with this thing
may be a little too powerful based on some of the spells available. I don't know. I'd have to look at it first before I was going to commit to it. So,
well, I mean, you'd only get it up to 5th level spells. You top max out.
Okay, yeah.
Well, no, you can go all the way. It's part of your Arcanum. You pick them.
Well, yeah, you just pick the ones that make sense.
So you could choose to have them. But again, too, like you still have to choose those slots. It's not like you're getting them like the favorite soul.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you had the Life domain as your spell list, it doesn't actually mean anything unless you start choosing spells from there. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, they just become available to you, and the spell list for the Warlock is it's poor without the ones that are built into you getting them. Like when you pick the Archfey, you're getting all those spells, because you really need them. Because otherwise, it's like the Warlock spells, they're all right, but they're not. It's not as broad a category as some of the other spellcasters, and it was meant that way. It's a different build on how it works and the mechanics of it.
You know, so and then you would have to obviously it's only 3. Is it only 3 levels where you actually get something from being a Warlock pack? So,
I feel like there's 4. There's the initial one.
It's 1, 6, 10, and 14.
14.
Okay,
yeah, there's the initial one, whatever your major thing is going to be.
Yes. Okay. So 1,
6, 10, 14.
Yeah. So you really just have to come up with 4 special abilities.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is kind of weenie-ish and weak, depending on what you go with. Like the
but it can be pretty amazing. Like the old one is telepathy, right?
The fiend is, you know, when you reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you gain temporary temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus your warlock level. The great old one is, you know, telepathy within 30 feet. And then the archfey,
and that's a big difference. One's an obvious combat,
and
the other one is really roleplay interaction.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the archfey one's like a charm or something.
So they don't follow that mechanism.
There's no formula
from that respect. I mean, comboed with the spell list. I'll have to look at it, but combo with the spell list, that might be how it's augmented.
Well, I suspect if you look at them, depending on the level they get a certain ability, it kind of determines, like, you know, like the Fiend one at first level is combat, but the next one, 6th level, is utility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's the Dark One's Blessing, where you basically get the roll. You basically have Bardic Inspiration on yourself once a day or something.
Yeah. Whereas the Great Old One, that's where they get the entropic ward.
So
you can turn an enemy's failed strike into good luck for yourself. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that roll. If the attack misses you, your next attack roll against that creature has advantage if you make it before the end of your next turn.
Which that's pretty mechanically. That's pretty interesting. I didn't realize they had that ability.
Yeah, it's once per long rest. So
short or long.
Short or long. Yeah. Okay, then that one's really good.
So
when they give you something that's like, oh, long rest, you're like, oh, I don't feel like it was that awesome. But yeah, that's good. Short or long rest.
Yeah. So you just have to come up with some thematic things for, you know, a good patron.
And if you want, just snag some of these and just mix and match them. Just, you know, keep in mind
the balance factor.
There just can't be like, well, I'm just going to take all the combat ones and relist them as good, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. That could be problematic.
Yeah. So
we've had this problem before.
So there is, you know, there's a balance factor. So just, you know, interaction, you've got the exploration, and you've got the combat. So just like a mix of those based on what you see out of the 4 abilities for all the 3 ones that are available. That's kind of like a nice mix. Right. And then, you know, obviously if you pick the chain.
I think if I was going to build it, like the way I would do it is I would actually list the 3 patron types. I would list their 4 abilities for each one, and then I would try and categorize each one.
Right.
You know, based off
sum up with a word or two, right?
Yeah, you know, exploration, combat, interaction. And just to kind of like see, like I can look across the line and see, oh, okay, there is a pattern here, right. or there isn't, because, you know, 5th edition is as much art as science.
Yeah, well, if you don't see a pattern there, add the spell lists for each one of those, and then say, all right, well, this is a lot of avoidance assistance spells. Like I think Archfey, you get invisibility and a few things that are really more about not
enchantment, charm, illusion.
Enchantment, charm, illusion
Makes sense.
So that's also something to consider.
Fiendish is going to be a lot of like, I blow shit up, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of fire spells, burning hands, command, blindness, deafness, scorching ray, fireball, fire shield, flame strike.
So they're heavy hitters.
Whereas the Great Old One is all like the creepy stuff: dissonant whispers, Tasha's hideous laughter, detect thoughts, clairvoyance, dominate beast,
psychic damage,
tentacles,
domination, and madness.
Yeah. So.
So there's themes to those. So, you know, it's really easy if your cleric, like if it's from a god, it's like a solar god, a god's solar. Then you just say, oh, well, this is what I'm about, so this is what my solar is about, so this is the kind of things that my spell should be thematically about. Right. Unless you're just going to go straight domain. But like I said, I'd want to look at the domain compared to the actual
thing,
you know, 1st through 14th archetype
Oh, and that too. It's got to match the Patron too. Like like thematically. I mean, you could do it whole cloth if you wanted to, but looking at the domains would be the first way to go, like you said.
Right.
I always prefer the fast and dirty method over doing all the work.
When making something, definitely. Whatever is actually there that you can take and say this is appropriate, and I'll just rename it and maybe tweak it.
Beg, borrow, and steal, baby.
Yes.
Wherever we can.
So I think that's a good start, and that's a total sellable idea, especially when pick a different name than Warlock.
All right, so let's
favored one, or
let's let those guys in the comments below help us build a good Patron.
Well, I mean, and discuss. Do you think that the Warlock as it's presented is something that can have a good Patron?
Oh, one point with that. One of my initial things against the Warlock having a good Patron was, well, that's where they get their power, and they're supposed to be kind of evil and shady. I'm like, well, the Wizard is kind of balanced with the Warlock, and they don't have to be evil and shaded to be awesome. So why does that one class have to do it? So it's like, well, it doesn't. It's just
the Paladin used to have to be good. He doesn't have to be anymore.
And there's no balancing factor because you actually have an evil Patron has nothing to do with your character.
It doesn't.
There's mechanically nothing going on there.
It's just got the creep, a lot of the powers and things have a creep factor or a dark aspect to them.
So I want to play an evil character that's a Warlock who has a good Patron who's trying to get him to become a good guy.
That could work out.
I think that'd be an awesome character to play.
You're chafing at the bonds of maybe the solar saved your life or something.
Every time you go to do something dark or evil, you hear the holy choir play in your mind. He's gonna steal my soul if I do this bad thing.
I think
I'm gonna get an imprisonment spell slammed down on my head if I don't do this nice thing.
I think it would be a fun character to play. Maybe the Solar, saw something in a divination that this character would be at the right place at the right time, and he screwed up somewhere and would have died before he would have been at that point. So he says, "Look,
now he's unwillingly helping old ladies cross the street."
I think
I could be charging for this service. This Solar just does not know economics.
I really want to just take her purse and push her in front of the bus, but no, I got to help her cross the street.
Well, I mean, the character arc is the guy just wanted to live, so it's like, all right, well, I have to serve this essentially good agent. So every once in a while I got to do good stuff for him so that because I get to live. But unbeknownst to him, the Solar is trying to manipulate him and seeing the benefit of his goodly actions to try and get him to willingly be good. I mean, I just think
I like it. It's good. I think it puts a lot of really tough onus on the DM to put you in those situations to actually make your character rethink his life and want to do good.
I think those are the kind of things that make for spectacular campaigns.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it's more work to do that for the DM.
Well, I mean,
just make it the low work.
You can work with your DM when you've got ideas. I mean, I've had stories where I've said, okay, well, this is the story arc I see for my character. Here's a couple suggestions of what I'd like to see happen and this and that. See if you can work them in.
I think Dave's just saying that's a big session 0.
No. Yeah. Well, my point is, right, so you have to lay that all out and then think about, you have to think about this character's evil. Why is he evil? What's his motivations for being evil? And what is it that's going to actually touch him in his heart?
Yeah, maybe
to
he's
make him
distrusting,
change.
And that's why he always acts suspicious and expects the wrong things out of people. So he
clearly a sociopath type character. This is not going to work.
No, not at all.
No. So it's got to be someone that's morally ambiguous to begin with.
So if you got someone who's greedy, or selfish, you can find ways to essentially have the character get what he wants through the goodly actions, and he realizes that he doesn't need to go that route. He was doing the dirty stuff before, getting small pittance.
Well, see, I look at it the other way, is where you expose that character. You really start exposing that character to the consequences of his actions he's never been saying. When you're saying, I don't like the all carrot approach to that, because it's almost like he's not being good to be good anymore. It's because, I can be good and I still get the stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, but being good is also a lot of times is about choosing not to get the stuff for the right reason.
Well, I mean, I was giving you the quick and easy way out. But
well, that's not going to make.
But we're talking about a really complex character concept.
True.
So I wouldn't want to make it quick and easy. I would want to make it like if you're going for the role play factor, I would really want to get story investment and go, this is what does it take to turn this evil character good? What's going to be enough? Or maybe he wasn't that evil to begin with. So you have to figure these things out,
right?
And then you can kind of move forward from there. Is it just really a guy that does bad things to get what he wants because he doesn't care about the consequences and never thinks of the consequences, and he's not there to pick up the pieces when they happen,
right?
But what happens when he has to see? What happens when he has to see the little girl crying over her mom's corpse,
right?
Or children going hungry. Maybe this is like a good place for a cutscene where he goes back to his childhood of being hungry, and that's why he does what he does because he never wants to be like that again.
Right.
But he's just perpetuating the cycle.
Yeah, right. He's not thinking about, oh, wait a minute, I'm not going hungry now, but they are, and it's directly because of my actions.
Yeah.
So like if I'm going to go into this deep moral territory with role play, and then I really want to go. I'm full immersion. I don't want the easy glossed over version. I want the intrinsic, like really heart wrenching and raw kind of emotional stuff.
Well, that's where my mind initially was. But when it's like, oh, you're going to add so much work to the DM, I'm like, okay, well, there are easier methods to go. I mean, yours is definitely a better story, and definitely reaches out, but it does require more setup, more work.
Well, I'll just say I'm not averse to it. I'm saying, sometimes we put forth ideas, on these videos, and people sometimes misconstrue, like when we say, like in the barbarian video or in the politics video, everyone's like, oh, you can do a barbarian. Like, God damn it, we didn't say you can't do a barbarian. All we said is it's more difficult, and you have to use your goddamn head and think about it before you make that character, and you can't be kicking in the door and just killing everything. It doesn't work in that campaign. But yes, you can be a barbarian. We know that. And rant.
All right, Dave. Don't hold back anymore. Tell us what you really feel.
You do not know how many comments are replied to, but you can do it. Yes, that's what we essentially said. I know.
Tell me how you really feel.
I did the same thing. I replied to lots of them.
A couple of times, like I started doing stuff in all caps, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. But yeah, so like there is like an easy way to do it. There's a hard way to do it, and sometimes you can find it in between. And in this video, I wanted to make sure we put it all out there. I mean, I'll still put it in there and be like, yeah. But
so go ahead and put your comments below, whether you like the idea of a warlock with a goodly patron. If you want to put suggestions and ideas, you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, you can also follow us on Facebook. And also, I just want to say real quick, if you guys want to see us do some good patrons and over on the website, let us know too.
That sounds like my job. And you can also start this conversation up over on our Reddit site.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.
The Fiend.
So you have the Unseelie Court, the Cthulhu, or
the devil.
Yeah. So in a game that I was playing that's not recorded here, I had a warlock, and like at character creation, I'm asking the GM, I'm like, what do you see as kind of options, because I don't like to play evil characters all that often. It's got to be something that I get built up. He's like, oh, I don't see warlocks as anything that can be good, so you can't really have anything that goes that route. So I'm like,
hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with some of the crew.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
And today we want to talk about warlocks and crossing over to the good side.
Yeah, where's the good patrons, yo?
All right, so you get, what do we have here as our options? We've got, the Great Old One, an Archfey, or
went with Packblade.
Yeah,
and I don't know if we delved into it or not, but my idea of when you summon your pack weapon is it's actually made of that same stuff, the stars and the darkness.
Oh, the Spord.
Yeah,
the Spear Sword.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I remember about it most. Well, and the stars and darkness was pretty cool, but
so why can't there be a good one? I guess it crosses into the point of if it's a good thing, it tends to go to like a religion and a deity kind of deal. But so is it that you have to is it that like some beings are too great to actually be patrons? Like, would that like blow the person up if they like tried to like, here's a slither of my pack? Oh man, again!
I popped into the person balloon.
So we've all read the books, but it says a warlock is defined by a pact with an otherworldly being. Sometimes the relationship between a warlock and a patron is like that of a cleric and a deity, though the beings that serve as patron for warlocks are not gods. So, all right, so you technically can't have it as a full-on god, but there still can be greater beings.
You just need the right filters and funnels. So like a solar of some deity might give you the power and be like, hey,
I wonder what other people feel about this. And I know for the Spelljammer game that we did once, you had me as I played a warlock for that, and you allowed us to be something pseudo neutral.
Yeah, more of a force of nature than so you went with the old one pack, right?
Like a galactic intelligence.
But I totally ripped off from Marvel the Eternity entity, which is basically a humanoid silhouette made of basically dark matter, space, and stars kind of deal. And so that was kind of what we went with. I think